You're listening to Kaio Conversations, a podcast about anything and everything that matters to Chi Omegas.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Harrington, CEO for Chi Omega. And before we begin, I want to let our listeners know that this episode of Kaio Conversations contains discussion of depression, suicide, mental health challenges, and related topics. While we aim to provide valuable insights and share personal experiences in this episode, we encourage you to be mindful of your own well-being before tuning into our conversation. With that being said, today we are honored to have Dennis Gillan, Executive Director of the Half a Sorrow Foundation, on board to help us navigate an important conversation around mental health as we step into Mental Health Awareness Month. Dennis Gillan is a national thought leader on the topic of suicide prevention and mental health advocacy. His calling is to do whatever he can to reverse the current trends in completed suicides and reduce the stigma associated with mental health by sharing his own personal story of loss from suicide and the grief that followed. Dennis worked on the suicide prevention hotline when he lived in Chicago. He has involvement with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and in 2020, Dennis founded the Half a Sorrow Foundation with the purpose to improve mental health for individuals and organizations by promoting real conversations through spreading messages of hope, resilience, and help seeking to save lives. Dennis is a proud member of Phi Sigma Kappa fraternity, an author, TEDx speaker, and a 2017 and 2023 Chi Omega Firesides Leadership Training keynote speaker. Well, Dennis, we meet again, friend. Welcome to Kaio Conversations.
Well, Leslie, thank you for having me. And thank you for having these tough conversations. We went back to 2017 and 2023. So thank you for doing it. You've been doing this a while, so really serving your membership well. Thanks.
Well, it's important, and you've been an inspiration to both me and to Chi Omega. So we're happy to have you back. And I know that some of us are familiar with your story, but for our listeners who might not be, would you do us the honor of sharing your story with everyone again?
Sure. And I think the story will cover both undergrads and alumni because I lost my older brother to suicide when I was an undergrad. I was a junior in college, and it was one of those weeks where I had a test in every subject. It was, every undergrad, wherever I speak at colleges, they still do that stuff. And you remember when we were back in school, it was like, you have one of those weeks like, oh my gosh, every subject this week I have a test. And I was in one of those weeks, and I got a call from home, and I was 8 hours from home, telling me you need to come home. And that's a kind of a weird call to get on a Wednesday. And I learned that my older brother, Mark, who battled depression for years, took his life. Mark died by suicide. And that was right. It was just recently at an anniversary. We're taping this on October 26, 1983 is when we lost Mark. So if you think about it, the semester's just getting rolling. You're coming around midterms. I was a junior, and that's when you start taking those upper level classes and things get real.
Yeah.
And I was knee deep in it. And then I went home and came back kind of like nothing ever happened. I went home on a Thursday. I got back to school on Tuesday, and like a long weekend. And I didn't handle that very well. I had a rough go of it, and then but believe it or not, I graduated. And 4 years and 8 weeks, I took a summer session. I have to tell it myself. I couldn't do it in 4 years. I wanted the victory lap. My dad said no, so I took a summer session and got out of there. And then 11 years after we lost Mark, I lost my younger brother, Matthew. And I'm one of 5 kids, and I was in the middle. And I lost an older brother, younger brother. I'm still in the middle. I have 2 sisters. And so in 1983, we lose Mark. 94, we lose Matt. And then I'm rocked at that point. That really hurt. I actually was doing pretty good at that point, Leslie. I got out of school. I was working for a pharmaceutical company, Merck, and I thought everything was behind us. And as you know, in life, things come at you hard. And losing Matt threw me for a serious mental health loop. So that's two sad stories. Sorry about that, but that's how we have to start. I had to tell you how I got here.
No, I wanted you to. It's emotional, and it never gets easier to tell or to hear, I don't think. I'm sorry for all that you have lost. And I thank you for sharing it with us again, because it does lend context to this conversation. And I can't imagine the emotional pain that you've had to endure in your family But I'm glad that you were able to take care of yourself and are now using your voice to help others on their healing journeys. I want to know, though, in those early years of your grieving process for both brothers, what did you find helped you the most as you moved through the loss and the grief of both of them?
Well, it's almost like the tale of two cities with my older brother, Mark. I was 20 when that happened. I was 20
Mm,
years old, and I don't think I handled that very well at all. The
mm,
drinking age was 18, and I started drinking heavily. I was already drinking, and of course, I was 2 years legal at that point, but then I ramped it up a bit. So the question was, what helped me during the grieving process? When I lost Matthew, I sobered up, and that helped me get in touch with my feelings because alcohol is a depressant. I was pretty depressed,
yeah.
and I don't think I needed to put gasoline on that fire. It was already pretty much raging. So taking a break from drinking was a really good move for me. And then I followed that up. So I'm sober. I'm still super depressed. And I followed that up with another great decision. There were two decisions that really came in handy. I went and saw a professional mental health counselor.
Yeah.
And and you put those two together, that's the reason I'm standing on my feet to get today.
Mm. Well, I'm always so impressed with the way you tell your story with so much warmth, so much levity, if you can believe that, and even adding in a little bit of humor sometimes. So, where do you find the strength to reach the place where you can share that story over and over again?
It's interesting because I get that comment a lot about the levity or the humor, and people don't expect humor in a suicide prevention talk.
Mm.
But Leslie, I'm at the point, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
one or the other. It really
Yeah.
is. There's no in between with telling the story. It's one or the other. And I've cried a river for my brothers, for sure. And it happened one time, to tell you the truth, where the humor came in early on in my speaking career. It wasn't pretty. The first couple presentations, I had to do a gig at an Air Force base. I was doing a speaking engagement at an Air Force base, and they were going to get their money's worth that day. I did 6 talks.
Goodness.
6. I had to go over it 6 times. And the first one was like at oh dark 30. And then, as the day went on, and halfway through, like number 4 or 5, I got bored with my own talk.
Oh,
It
no.
was it was awful. It was like very dry at this time. I'm just trying to find my story.
Yeah.
And I went on a rant. I just went off script and I went on some rant. And I looked up and the audience was laughing. And I'm like, all right, maybe this helps. Because when people laugh on a serious topic, their arms unfold. And all of a sudden, now they're opened up. I can come for their heart with the message. And
Hmm.
I'm not being flippant. And you saw the talk. I'm not being flippant towards the disease state. My heart goes out to anyone who's suffering. Diseases of desperation include suicide. We covered substance use last time we spoke. Alcoholism. It's a big tent of people that are desperate or who don't have any hope. I am not being flippant towards them at all. Most of the humor is aimed right at Dennis. It's the stuff I did,
Yeah.
and I could take it. So it helped. So I got up the stage at one of these, like number 4 or 5 at the Air Force Base, and I had a handler, and she looked at me and she goes, "You need to do more of that."
Huh.
I think she was bored of my presentation too. I wasn't knowing what she goes. That's what we need. So I said, "All right, you asked for it, you got it." And then number 5 and 6 was a little different. And then I started thinking about it and said, you know what? When the audience lets me in, when they start laughing and they're with me, then I could really hit them with the message, and it just disarms them a bit. So that's where it came from.
Well, I do believe, in addition to friendship and maybe sorority, that laughter can be really good medicine for anxiety, depression, just having a down day. So I think you're right. It does open up, and a little bit laughter alone is helping to reduce the stigma, right? If we're in a conversation and we can laugh and self-deprecate on some of the things that we're struggling with, it makes it just the tiniest bit easier to share with other people. And I think that's part of the process, is sharing with other people how you're feeling. Now, you often speak at college campuses and sorority fraternity communities, and you are a fraternity man yourself. So, how do you think sorority and fraternity contribute to mental well-being?
I think they really are poised. I'm a big fan of Greek life. I think they're poised to be very helpful in somebody's well-being on a college campus, especially first, second year students, to get involved in something where you have a sense of belonging. We all belong to Greek life. If you're hearing this, you're a member of Chi Omega, and in Chi O Conversations. that sense of like, yeah, these are my sisters. This is where I belong. You picked it, they picked you. And it's important to have that, especially if you're away from home and in a faraway place, learning some really tough subjects. It's nice to know somebody has your back. Now, Leslie, I did hear this comment one time when I spoke to a national sorority.
Oh.
This woman came up to me and says, "My sorority has been a great source of support for me,
Hmm.
but also a great source of stress." And I'd like us, all of us, to work on in Greek life to work on. Let's take the bottom part of that out. Let's be the source of support. I
Yeah.
get the stress part. Sometimes it's stressful and all that stuff. I held an office when I was in Phi Sigma Cap, and it got a little stressful, but it also prepared me for things later in life too. The leadership aspect. So I think Greek life is a great source of support. It just set up like all the stuff we do, the philanthropic endeavors, the volunteering, all the good stuff that nobody really hears about.
Hmm.
If we trip, stumble, or fall, you'll hear about that. But the stuff we do for the foundations that we support really does give a sense of purpose to what we're doing, and I'm a big, huge fan of Greek life because of that.
Well, you're preaching to the choir, I think, a little bit. I too am a big fan. I know during one of your Chi Omega talks, I'm not sure which one, but you shared the lesson about the bundle of sticks. I may be calling it the wrong thing, but I wondered if you would share that analogy with our listeners again today. I thought it was a good
Oh, Leslie, that one really resonated. That was, I think, 2023 when I spoke at Firesides in
one.
Philadelphia. People came up to me, "Oh, we're going to use that in chapter meetings." It was this. It's a simple. I think it's an old wives' tale. A stick alone can be broken by a child, but a stick in a bundle cannot be broken. And then I go on to say, Greek life, Chi Omega, is a great bundle. And it's hard to break those sticks when you're all together and the sisterhood's all together. But and I also relay it in my talk. I say both my brothers were alone when they died.
Mm.
They were alone, and it's tough when you're in a bundle. So I always tell the audience, bundle up. I don't care what it is, what you got to do in life. You got to bundle up. You got to find a club. You got to find something. And I use in my TEDx talk a personal story. When I was going through a divorce, I joined a hiking club
Hmm.
because I had to get out of my apartment. I went from a really big house to a really small apartment.
Yeah.
How small was the apartment? It was so small, Leslie, that when I put the key in the door too far, I broke the back window. That's how small it was. Thank you for laughing. I appreciate that. But it was
That's
small. I
cool.
was, I was like, I got to get out of here. And
Yeah.
I joined this club, and that became my bundle when I needed it the most. We'd go out and hike all day. So that's important. And your sisterhood really latched onto that. I remember that in Philly. I love that. The stick alone can be broken by a child. The stick in the bundle cannot be broken. Chi Omega is a great bundle.
Well, we're always, gung ho for a good hashtag, and bundle up sure is a great hashtag. We don't want to steal that from you, but it's an excellent analogy and a wonderful message. We are a bundle, and a bundle can save a life, I think. Um,
Absolutely.
I, I want to talk about saving lives and talk about Half a Sorrow Foundation. What are some of the big initiatives that are currently underway, and what's next for your foundation?
So it's interesting. I was featured. One of the initiatives that we're doing now is called this Purple File, and it's you're wearing purple today. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for thank you for playing along. I was featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. It was this thing, and I want your listeners to think about this and kind of make conversations. What inspires you? And for the listener, you can't see this pictures behind Leslie. There's like motivational quotes behind you. Like you have to keep pumped up. So I have this thing, and I'm going to hold it up for you. You get to see it, but the listeners, it's a really thick file. It's a purple file, and we're trying to roll this out because it's a protective factor.
Mm.
When I'm having a bad day, and I'm in the suicide prevention business, and we lose somebody, it's a bad day. And it happens. It just, oh, it happens. We lost one of my alumni friends at Phi
Mm.
Sigma Kappa, threw me into a funk for a couple days, right? So I open up that file. It's right here. It's always right to my right. And I open up the file. In there are stuff, people send me notes. Some from Chi Omega saying, "Hey, I saw you at Firesides. It really resonated. Thank you for coming." One one woman wrote me a funny note about the humor part. Was, "Dear Mr. Gillan, you owe me money for mascara. I was laughing and crying at the same time.
Hey, that stuff is
Thank you for."
expensive. Yeah.
That's it. So, thank you for coming. So that's in the file. So we're pushing that out, the purple file. We have a thing for men because 80% of all suicides are guys, but women have more attempts, Leslie.
Mm.
3 to 4 times more attempts on the female side. So we have this thing called the Camo Hat Club, and we're pushing out hard these safety plans. And safety plans are stuff you fill out when you're well.
Hmm.
These are things you need to do because when you're not mentally well, you tend to forget them. You're just not in a good frame of mind.
Right.
So you fill them out when you're well, and you go over them with your therapist. Like this, and it usually starts like my go-to people, and it escalates. I need to go here. I need to call this person. This person is my confidant, and then you get down to your clinician, and then things I need to do to be safe. It really escalates. Normally, if you do it right, you could pick it off in 1 or 2 steps up top, and you go, you know what, I'm fine now. Just had a moment. So you got to do the work. So the safety plan, Camel Hat Club, and the Purple File, 3 things we're really pushing at the foundation right now.
That's so wonderful to hear. I feel like some conversations that I've had with my own daughters about their mental health is, to tell me if you start feeling not like yourself. I think a lot of young women think that it's a personality flaw of some kind, or sometimes they blame it on their period or what have you. But sometimes if they notice a pattern, it could mean something else you need to be looked at, right? You need to check that out. So a lot of times my kids will say, "Oh, I would never do that. I would never take my own life. I would never do that." Of course you wouldn't, because you are well right now. But there may come a time where you become unwell for any number of reasons. And so I want everyone to pay attention to how they're feeling. And it seems like you guys are talking about that and giving some people some real good tools to do that. I do want to talk to our listeners a little bit about and give them some actionable advice. So, could you share what you find to be the biggest red flags or warning signs, indicators that someone might be struggling with their mental health or even contemplating suicide? How can we recognize it in our own selves and others, and where should we turn?
That's a great question. And Leslie, we're going to go risk factors and warning signs. Uh,
Okay.
Risk factors would be stuff that predisposed to some stuff. Like family history of suicide is a risk factor, and I have that because I lost my
Mhm.
brothers. Warning signs are more concrete. We'll put them in 3 buckets real quick: talk, behavior, and mood.
Mm.
Someone starts talking about it, verbalize. They mean joke about it. Oh, I'd be better off dead. All right, you said it. I'm probably going to pull you aside privately and say, "Are you okay?" Coming from a place of love. I don't publicly admonish anybody. You can't talk like that in front of me. I never go that route. I save all that for Twitter. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that there. I don't do it there either. I
Everyone.
just
Yes.
pull them aside later and say, "Listen, you said this. Are you okay?" And that comes from a place of love. And you just heard that conversation. The temperature went down a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm thinking about you. All right. For Greek life, people will withdraw or they're isolate. So if someone stops showing up for chapter meetings, this is a really good concrete example. They stop showing up for functions. Remember the stick in the bundle? It's up to the bundle to go chase the stick. There's somebody on the outside looking in, and that's a great way because we used to take attendance.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you could track it. Like, dude, you missed like 3 in a row. Somebody needs to go. And think about this: if you're in a fraternity or sorority and you missed for like a legitimate reason, you had a lab or something and you missed a chapter meeting, and a brother or sister calls you up later that night and said, "Hey, you were not at the chapter meeting. Is everything okay?"
Mm.
Who doesn't want a sister like that?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want seriously? It's like, dude, you say, "Hey, listen, I had a lab. We were working on a work group. I couldn't make it. Thank you for calling." Now they know that's a safe place.
Yeah.
Now take the opposite. Say the person was struggling and they're on the couch just doing nothing on their phone the whole night, and they could have went to chapter and they didn't. They blew it off. Who doesn't want a sister like that? Are you all right? Should we come over? Can we check on you? That's
Yeah. I feel like sometimes there may be people that are just waiting for someone to ask, right? Someone they can confide in. I also want us to all think about that in the lens of accountability. Sororities and fraternities have rules and systems of accountability. But I want our members to really search for the whys on things like that too. Like if you're in a leadership position and somebody didn't show up to chapter meeting, instead of slapping them with a fine, maybe pick up the phone, call them and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Be a sister first and see if there's more to the story than just, didn't show up or laziness or what have you. There could be something else there.
absolutely, and that's a great example. You slap them with a fine, then they're really not going to come next week because now they're depressed and now they're broke. Now
Right.
they're in debt. So you maybe have a mental health waiver. "Hey, I was having a rough day. All right, we'll waive this fine. Do me a favor. Can you show up next time?" And if you want, I'll walk over with you. Whatever you got to do to be a good sister in that situation.
Yeah. Now, I know you have heard plenty of tragic and sad, depressing stories, but can you share maybe some of the success stories you've heard that you've encountered in your field over time?
Now you're gonna make me cry because these are good tears. Like these stories, like I had a young lady come up to me after I spoke, and this is how all my feedback starts usually. It's a
Yeah.
suicide prevention talk with an emphasis on mental health. Nobody really wants to go to it, but they know they should, right? So a lot of schools make it mandatory. So I was had this one young lady come up to me and she goes, "Mr. Gillan, I did not want to come to your talk tonight." Which I usually say, "Hey, I didn't want to give it. We're fine. We're
You-
cool. We're so cool. We're right on the same page. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here, but here we are." And then she said something like, "But after hearing you speak, I feel normal again." She said that right to my face, like, "I
Wow.
feel normal again." She had lost a friend to suicide. She was struggling herself. And here's this guy that lost two brothers to suicide, figuring out a way to go on. It's, I'm not graceful at it, but I'm just going on. I'm persevering. And she took solace in that and had to come up to me afterwards. And I feel normal again. That I can't put it, a dollar amount on that feedback. That blew me away.
Well, normal, there is some happiness in normal, right?
Yeah.
It's a blessing to feel normal. And so that is a very inspiring story. I know that we've talked about some of the risk factors, and you outlined those so succinctly and clearly. I think sometimes Chi Omega members struggle with a little bit of trepidation when, especially our officers, when they identify that somebody might be struggling, and how much support to give, and are they qualified to give it? None of them are licensed counselors or anything like that. But we often provide the analogy that, um, you know, sisters are best equipped and experts at friendship. So, really, if you apply that lens to it, you're probably doing the right thing. Like if somebody broke their leg, you wouldn't just say, "Hey, here's the hospital. Good luck." You would go with them. You might take them. You might give them some sort of special accommodation to miss the next meeting or two. You might create a path for them in chapter meeting to make it easier for them to come back to chapter activities. What advice do you have for our listeners on what to do when they do see that someone is struggling? How much advice to offer, and how much is dangerous to get into deeply?
It's interesting. That's a great question. I was thinking when we were talking about that, one of the first things people are afraid to ask, and we found this in the suicide prevention world, is you're afraid to say, "Are you suicidal?" Because people think you can put that thought in their head.
Hmm.
Now there's research out the wazoo that says that is not true. You can't do it. And think about anyone who's struggling and depressed. You don't think they've thought of that already? Like if they're really down, like, "Oh, are you suicidal?" They go, "You know what? I never thought of that until you mentioned it." No, but say that. And the other thing, I'll take the onus off your sisters because they're not licensed, psychologists and psychiatrists. You just have to keep them safe for now. And when I heard that phrase, "for now," it took all the burden off. This doesn't have to be a 24/7, 365 job. This person is your assignment.
Yeah.
No, because there are gonna be times you're in the shower and they're gonna call and you're not there. It's just it can't be just you. Um, so just know all your resources on campus. I listen to these fraternity guys. They saved the guy, and I'm so proud of these knuckleheads. And I use that as a term of affection.
Yeah.
They dialed the suicide prevention lifeline. It was after hours. They gave the kid the phone. He had to listen to it. Then then they blew up an air mattress and stayed with that person overnight.
Good.
Now I'm ready to hug them. And then the next morning, somebody walked that person to the CAPS department, which is Counseling and Psychological Services. They
Hmm.
did everything. They did everything right. They got the person where they're going to be, and they're going to be good brothers and sisters after that. So you just have to keep them safe for now. And those that was a great illustration. It took them all of 12 hours. Someone slept in the room, and they woke up, took them to counseling. That's all they had to do. That's really all you can ask of someone, because after that, he's in the system. Hopefully, he's being taken care of, and they're there to support him when he comes back. And there's
Yeah.
no stigma with that. So
Safe for now. Just simplifying it takes a lot of the burden and the pressure off, right? You really don't have to have all the answers. Just keep them safe for now. until help is on the way.
Yeah, the great analogy is, CPR. If I know
Yeah,
CPR, I can keep someone alive until the ambulance gets there. But I'm not a cardiologist.
that's
I'm
right.
not doing open heart surgery. I'm just going to say, listen, I got to get this guy in that box, in that ambulance, and he's got to go. So I can do that, and I can do that with a mental health crisis as well. I can keep you around until the pros get there. So that's how we look at it.
Exact same thing. Really is. It's that simple and that complex. Well, Dennis, I know that you have lots of advice that you share on a regular basis. Before I let you go, what advice do you have left that you would like to make sure that our Chi Omega listeners out there know when it comes to mental well-being?
First of all, for the sisterhood that is Chi Omega, I want to say you're more resilient than you ever give yourselves credit for. This is the generation that went through a pandemic.
Yeah,
I remember when this thing hit. I had to drop off food for my son. He lives here in the same town I am. And he looked at me and goes, Dad, what do I do? And I said, Son, I'm old, but I'm not like 1918 old. Like, this is my first pandemic too. We're
yeah,
in this. So I want to give the students and the sisters that you talk to credit. They're really resilient. They got through that thing.
yeah.
It was, school online. Now where I grew up north, where they have snow days, they don't have snow days anymore. They have electronic, Zoom days, which is awful. You need a snow day every now and then. You
I
need
know.
a little break from school.
Yeah.
So one, you're more resilient than you thought. And the other thing is, you got this. I really do believe that, back to resiliency, but you got this. It sucks right now. Some days it sucks to be me. Some days it sucks to be you. When I was a kid, that was a curse word. If my mom was here, she'd smack me in the back of the head. But it's true. It just happens, right? It's a bad gig, and I get it. But tough times don't last. Tough people do. And
Mhm.
you may not feel tough. Depression robs you of all that toughness. You're tired and all that stuff. Just stay with us. Suicide is a forever decision, and we don't need to be making any forever decisions. Now, we don't. A lot of us don't even know what we're having for our next meal. So we don't. That's a decision, right? We don't need to make a life decision like that. So I'm very proud of this younger generation, by the way, Leslie, as we bump up against the clock here. They're willing to talk about this stuff. My generation really didn't talk about it. My dad's forget it. Um, they'll talk about it and they'll help each other out and they'll say, I'm not doing okay. I'm really proud of these folks.
Me too. And I'm proud of you. Dennis, I have to thank you again for saying yes to Chi Omega and for keeping our podcasters safe for now. We will continue to do this work alongside with you. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today for this very important conversation. As season 3 nears an end, we are on the lookout for season 4 guests. So if you know someone with a great story to share, or if you have an important topic in mind that you'd like to hear covered, you can send recommendations to Chi Omega at chiomega.com. In the meantime, if you've missed any of our past episodes, be sure to go to our website at chiomega.com to watch them all. And also be sure to follow us on social media so you won't miss out on our next Chi conversation. Thank you.